Hi, everybody. This is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. Although this time, it's not so much crypto, but it is sound money. I am joined by David Morgan, the Silver Guru, and we're going to be talking about gold, silver, and maybe a little bit about crypto. To find the best cryptocurrency investments, check out Token Metrics. Use my affiliate link for a discount.
The world's most advanced cold wallet for the new generation of cryptocurrency lovers. Descent.
Take the first step towards online privacy. Get NordVPN.
Hey, David, thank you so much for making yourself available.
Well, thanks for having me back. I really enjoyed our last conversation. Thank you.
Yes, it was good. It was good. And I will say that we talked offline, and that was really enjoyable as well. I won't say what we talked about, but it's great to have you back on, and thank you for making the time. And do you just want to say a little bit about what you do and also the service that you offer through Silver Investor?
Sure. The website is actually themorganreport.com. I changed the domain name years ago because I kind of put myself in a box that I didn't belong. Silver is kind of my passion, and I study it hard. But really, I look at all the resources, and the Morgan Report looks at all the resources, mostly on the equity side. So we were like the first on the lithium story, first on the rare earth element story, and on the paid service, we show people where they can invest in these, from the junior mining companies all the way up to the billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar conglomerates that mine precious metals or any kind of resource, cobalt, again, rare earths. So that's the paid service. The free service, please get on there. And the reason being is that I've got a couple strikes against me on YouTube, and I do have my own server. So I am on Odyssey. So if you ever can't find me on YouTube, you can go to Odyssey and type in the Morgan Report. You'll find me. It's free. I do several videos a week. I do a weekly perspective where I wrap up the news from a financial perspective, and also usually end with something about gold, silver, or cryptos.
Great. Well, I shall have the links to Morgan Report. It's morganreport.com. And I shall have the link to your Odyssey channel, because I think more and more people need to move over to censorship-resistant platforms. And that reminds me, no, it's over this way, my new YouTube channel, YouTube Crypto Rich BTC, because my old one was so brutally shadow banned, I've started another one, but also I invite people to come and join me on Odyssey, which is also Crypto Rich BTC on Odyssey. So do find me there, and also join my Telegram announcements channel and follow me on Twitter. And I'll put your Twitter link as well, because you're pretty active on Twitter.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. So you got 2 strikes on your channel. Why would anybody give you a strike?
Copyright. I used some intro music from Rush on From the Heart. I forget the exact title. It's a very powerful song to me, and it talks about kind of conditions we have, and so I use it as background music, and probably went 42 seconds instead of 30 seconds allowed. I mean, they could be real persnickety if they want to be. If they want you off, they'll take you off.
Right.
So far, I've just been hand slapped a few times.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for saying that. Well, look, I want to find out from you what's happening in the world of gold and silver. How's it tying in with the financial markets? Because there's stuff going on in China which we don't hear about on the mainstream media. I come across stuff in Zero Hedge about it, and also there's things happening in Turkey, and I think Lebanon as well, and then of course there's what's happening in Canada. And I just saw a headline. I haven't dug into it, but how capital is now fleeing Canada because of the way the government is governing. And I'd like you to tie it all together and give us the solution and make it all go away. And also make us all rich as well.
Yeah, well, you're asking a bit. Well, let me see if I can unpackage that. So obviously there is more and more uncertainty throughout the world on many fronts. The food, of course, geopolitically with the war drums beating, trust issues, and on it goes. So governments do fail. I mean, the Roman Empire failed. And we are in a failure mode right now in different jurisdictions. And the one that has not failed completely, and there aren't many that haven't, but the idea is that what really holds us all together, what makes globalism, is the way we trade, the way we exchange currencies for goods and services from other countries. And we are all connected to each other. And the way we are connected is through the monetary system, which means primarily the United States dollar. Yes, the BRICS countries have made a lot of inroads into circumventing the dollar altogether. China and Russia just made a new deal recently, and on it goes. But in times of uncertainty, what you see is a rise in precious metals because they have provided safety for humanity for beyond centuries, for thousands of years, millennia. And we've seen that over and over again. So what we're starting to see, crypto rich, is gold is starting to move up into not new high, but starting to get toward that basis the US dollar. I'll let me pause there because you're in the UK and I have listeners around the world. And mostly it's North Americans, but I have subscribers all in like 50 different countries. So the point I'm making is that in some of these jurisdictions where the currency has failed or is failing, Venezuela, Turkey, Argentina in the past, several more. There's several in the book, the Silver Manifesto. If you had bought gold, you were very, very happy because gold has done its job. It has preserved your wealth and left your purchasing power intact. So as the currencies failed or failing, you are sound. And this is the whole point. So what I'm about to say is that it's starting to move that direction in the United States, which basically says the world, because it is the reserve currency still. Now, jumping to Canada, nothing really ties people together more than the monetary system. And the banking elite control it. They don't want to lose control. Crypto has put a bit of a dent into their system, but I don't think as much as most people do. But when you start playing with people's savings, their bank accounts, which is what's happening in Canada, that is the most disturbing of all, because almost everyone, I mean, there's a few people that can live without money or have very little need of it if you're self-sufficient, but that's a very, very small amount of people. Their security is how much they have saved. I mean, it's, you can consider it life force or energy or whatever you want to look at, however you want to look at money. It provides a cushion, a safety, freedom. There's lots of adjectives I could use, but when you have a savings of some type, you have what you think is security. And now if Big Brother comes by and says all that security that you saved, and by the way, I have to say it, in either crypto or in the allowed banking system, you're in jeopardy based on your political thoughts, who you contributed money to of your own free will. I mean, this goes into a part of what I've thought about for years that's darker than even I would have expected. In other words, I wasn't sure that you'd see nation states clamp down on their people just on their political beliefs and do it blatantly. I thought, it'll happen behind the scenes. You might be called in or get a little letter or a phone call or an email or whatever. But no, it's just blatant. If you contributed to this convoy, we're taking your, pausing your account. And I don't have all the details. I don't want to misspeak and I don't want to exaggerate the situation, but it is very, very disturbing.
It is.
And beyond
if I can just come in, right? Yes, China and North Korea, but Canada? Canada? Yeah. We're not talking about some, dictatorship where people have no rights or liberties and no freedom of expression. That's very disturbing. Please carry on. So the point is that it could, is that just a trial balloon, or is that just a precursor to what could happen, anywhere? I mean, basically, if you look at, the UK, the Anglo-American Empire, I call it, on what their legal construct is, and this is purportedly, I mean, look, I'm not naive. I study this stuff all the time, but purportedly they're in a more or less common law system. Well, all that's been kicked to the curb. And we're looking at basically a dictatorship that's always more or less been there for the last several years, but it's been very subdued and you don't really see it unless you're looking for it. And you get what they've always wanted. I say they, I mean the political class ruled by the banking elite. They give the perception that we're free, or the idea that, yes, the law still works for everybody's common good and all this stuff. And of course, now they've taken off their sheep's clothing, exposed themselves as total wolves, and they're going for anything they can get. And of course, to repeat, it's very, very disturbing. And this is, again, going to people's, it's money, it's just money and all that. Well, again, what money represents
is some peace of mind, some security, some cushion, some buffer for most people, that they have some assurance that if things go terribly wrong, they've saved for a rainy day, and that savings they can access and they can get through the storm. When that's pulled out from under them, which is what's happening in Canada and could go on anywhere in the world, basically, at least that's my take at this point, then we really, really have got something going on here. Of course, you both know that. That's why you wanted to do this video pretty, soon. And I wanted to get on your channel really soon, because most people get it when they see it. But some people have to be reminded that, oh, well, that's just Canada, or couldn't happen here, or mine's safe, or I did nothing wrong, and therefore I'm okay. It's just those, fill in the blank, because this is very much a very controlled left-right, or red-blue, or green-purple, or polka dot, non-polka dot situation where it's a divide and conquer. But you're all at risk. That's more or less a ploy. They're after everyone in here.
Yep. And then how come Nazism took hold in Germany was because of compliance. People complied. Not enough people resisted in enough time. So you never comply yourself out of fascism. I do got to say that in England, not necessarily Wales and Scotland or Northern Ireland, in England, we are free and getting freer. They're going to be ending all restrictions pretty soon. But it does mean we can't necessarily travel to other countries, depending upon those countries' restrictions. But going back to Canada, and what you were saying earlier about what's happening in the financial markets in general, how is this tying in with silver and gold? How is it affecting? I had a look at gold is going upwards and is not anywhere near its, well, depends on it, but it's not at all-time highs. Silver has dropped. It was all-time high recently was $28, and now it's about $23 something. You'll know the price is better than me. So tell us what's happening in the gold markets in response to all of this, and what's happening in the silver markets.
Well, both are responding, gold particularly, which you would expect, because high net worth individuals or pension plans or whomever has money at risk will go to gold. And that's what's happening now. And I think a lot of Canadians that are having issues with their current bank account that hadn't, hedged or taken a position in the precious metals, which they had. And this will, I think, be a huge, in fact, there's a little joke going around the internet that I just saw yesterday. It shows the prime minister and it says gold's best salesman. And I think that picture you can put in your head is pretty accurate. When you see your savings in jeopardy, when you own physical metal, you own it in the most decentralized form that there is, and there's no counterparty risk accepted anywhere in the world in payment. I mean, there'll be some people that might not know what it is, but everyone understands the value of precious metals. So I think what it's going to do is ramp up the amount of purchases in Canada and elsewhere, because people will say, geez, maybe it's coming here, or I haven't hedged, or I have no metal, or I need it. My savings is all in the bank. And I want to digress a moment, Crypto Rich, on a video I did with Stansberry Research. And I think it was about the middle of last year or August. And didn't expect this. I did it from my car. It's got 1.5 million views. I don't have too many of my videos that go over a million. And this was all about the bail-in provision in North America, particularly the United States. And then I did one recently that the UK has got similar wording in their legislation to basically bail in. Bail in means that whatever money you have in the bank could be seized legally, that you are an unsecured creditor to the bank. If the bank is insolvent or has a problem or needs the money, or you fill in the blank, that money is not your money. That money is the bank's money. They will take that money and they'll give you a receipt for it, saying that you are now a shareholder in this bank, and good luck with that. So it's not there to scare people, but it's to awaken people and to have them hopefully move to action. Again, when you have real money in your pocket, so to speak, you have something outside of their ability to manipulate it. So again, I think this is, Prime Minister's being a very good salesman for people that are just now smelling the coffee. They may have been suspicious or concerned or whatever, and then reality hits them.
Yeah.
And you cannot get away from the consequences of reality. You can ignore it, pretend it's not there, put your head in the sand, or talk about it being somewhere else, but not where you are. And then there it is. So, as an advocate for freedom, number one, and free, thinking, free speech, free press, and free money. Free not meaning you get it for free, but meaning it's a free transaction where there's no interference by a third party, and that's only available in the precious metals and in the crypto space as well. I'll be honest about that. But even this Canada thing has taken away some of those. So obviously you can go to a private wallet, you can do it privately, but a peer-to-peer transaction in the crypto space, I'd say, is slightly more cumbersome than it would be in the precious metals, because it's really just the younger generation that's really adept with moving crypto from their phone, let's say, from phone to phone, so to speak. You're going to have a tough time getting someone 50, 55 or older to do it or understand it. Sure, there's some out there.
Yep.
So I think I've talked enough on that, but it really irritates me to see how far they've gone. And again, I'm going to go back to the metaphor. The sheep's clothing's off. I mean, if you can't see it now, you'll never see it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just on the gold, silver, and crypto, they have each has its advantages and each has its disadvantages. Gold and silver, I can't send you any silver electronically, but we can exchange in crypto.
Yeah.
But gold and silver, peer-to-peer, great. In person, when you're together with somebody, no problem at all. It's really great for that. And also, it's actually very nice to hold. I much prefer holding a real physical gold coin or silver coin than holding a Bitcoin in my hand.
Yeah, let me stop you there, Crypto Rich, because I think we spoke last time, but there is, more than our platform, and I'm biased because I am an ambassador for the Load project. That is a tokenized gold and silver. So I could actually send you some silver, and you could collect it physically. Now there's restrictions, let's be honest about it. I think there's 100-ounce minimum on silver and probably 1 ounce on gold. But nonetheless, you can, collect it. So, for example, I have a mastermind member in the UK, and he's having all kinds of problems with his money way before this Canada thing, sending me payment for the subscription. And of course, I totally trust this man implicitly. But every time he went to wire, the bank was telling him, basically why and who's it for, and do you trust this person? And basically interfering with his own private affairs. So long story short, I said, well, just send me, AUX or AGX, send me the tokenized silver that's on the Load platform. Took about 3 seconds, and there you go. And that was enough of a quantity that I could turn it into, physical coins if I wanted to do so. So and that's always been the problem with gold and silver. That's why the goldsmiths and the silversmiths were able to print out more certificates or receipts than gold behind it, because it was much more convenient to take a receipt or a piece of paper and exchange that than it was to go down to the warehouse, put your receipt in, get your gold, and then take it to whomever, especially in large quantities. I mean, think back to, I don't know, 1700s, 1600s, and, you might not want to take, a sizable amount, any amount, but a sizable amount of gold, across town or out to the farmer when you just bought, 30 cows or whatever. You get the idea.
I do.
So that was the thing about the blockchain is if it's done right, it's immutable. You're not going to have a goldsmith printing out more receipts because it has to be verified. The ledger is in theory perfect. So this is a way to really start a new cryptocurrency backed by precious metals that can't be fiddled with.
Very good. And I'll have the link to Load in the description below if people want to go and check that out, and then you can actually transact with gold and silver. Well, crypto, which is fully audited and backed by gold and silver using the blockchain. Thank you for that, David. Okay, now tell me, what is happening in the gold physical markets and the silver physical markets in terms of supply and availability? Because I hear there's tightness, but I've been hearing that for years.
I know. It's really, I want to be as honest as I can. So first of all, on the wholesale level, there is not much selling back, but there's not much buying. And I didn't check the last few days, and I can say with some authority, I'm sure that the last day or two of this Canada situation, there has been more buying, especially in gold. On the retail side, the market's been tight for basically a year straight. And I just did my weekly perspective yesterday. I spoke with Bill Holter. That may mean nothing to your viewers or mine. Bill and I have been friends for years. He does a great job of straight shooting about the precious metals. He used to work for Miles Franklin. He now works for Jim Sinclair. But he has a pretty good client base. So here's what he said, and I put it on my update. He had a client with $4 million going to the precious metals, and they divided it between rare coins and silver in what's called bag silver or junk silver. It's also called constitutional silver. All it is 90% coins 90% silver coins from the United States that are 1964 or earlier. Well, that market was huge. I mean, we used to circulate silver coins daily transactions. In fact, I'm old enough. We did that until I was about 11 years old. So every coin I got from the time I was aware enough as a 4 or 5 year old to understand the idea of money or the basic concept until I was 6 years old or 11-year-old kid was in silver or pieces of paper that were silver certificates that could be exchanged for silver. So anyway, the point I'm making is that market, as huge as it once was, is drying up. Now, I don't want to make one data point. I'm smart enough to know one data point doesn't make a trend. But I also know the bag market's been tighter and tighter because the premiums are so high. So what Bill said was that this one person bought $2 million in bag only. They didn't want bars. They didn't want sovereign coins. They wanted junk silver. He said it took 3 wholesalers to be able to put together that many bags of silver. Wow. And this is during good times, meaning there's not a run to gold right now. There's not a run to silver right now. We're seeing one. I think we are, based on the Canada input we've already discussed thoroughly. But now, if you can barely find that type of silver under these conditions, where silver's at 23 and still not discussed in the mainstream financial press at all, thinking about what happens when the run to gold really starts. Because when the run to gold really starts, it will spill over into silver because they're very, very correlated. And most people that understand these markets know that silver actually outperforms gold when there's a run to gold because it's more affordable. And it is much better for day-to-day transactions than gold. Gold will have too high unit value. Even a 10th ounce gold coin today would be like $200 US. And, if I'm going to buy gas, I can't pump in $200 worth of fuel into my car. Although I can do about half that, and I'll just have to wait another couple months.
You can probably do that in England. with petrol more expensive than it is in the US, but also that point is like it's good because a gold ounce in the UK, I don't know how much it is now, but it'll be over £1,000 a gold ounce. A silver ounce will be about 25 to 30 pounds maybe, so it's way more affordable. And the silver Britannia is way more beautiful as well, if you ask me. Gold Britannia is really good, but the silver Britannia is really good. Okay, so it's really, really tight now. Will there come a point when there's no silver to be had? Because I know it's happened with some of the other industrial metals in the last few months or so, where we've had such severe backwardation, like there was no copper or something on the London Metals Exchange for purchase, because it just been bought up. Is that
it's a tough one to answer because it's easy to look like a fool to make a statement like that, but I do believe it could have. First of all, it could happen. The answer is, would it happen? The answer is, I believe it will. And we all know why. It's a very small market. It doesn't take a lot to buy up the market. Like, if what I told you is correct and the bag market is as tight as I just outlined, what that means is if someone goes in to buy another $2 million worth of silver, junk silver, will it be available? The answer is, yeah, sure will. But at what price and how much is available? So the point is that when you want precious metals the most, is going to be a higher price than now, and the availability will be less, and it'll be dependent on who wants to sell for fiat. One thing about some, let's say, speculators or investors in the precious metals is really all they're concerned with is what is the equivalent in a fiat currency, which is backwards. The reason you buy metals is that fiat's failed and you have something you can transact with. So you might be able to get something at a discount instead of a premium. Let me explain. If you wanted to buy a used automobile, let's say, and I don't even know what they go for, they're very high price. So we'll just call it 10,000 pounds. If you did it in pounds sterling, it'd be 10,000. But if you paid it in silver, it might be 9,000 equivalent in silver. In other words, you're buying it at a 10% discount roughly because the other party rather have something they know isn't going to go into the dustbin a year or two down the road, or if things accelerate, maybe a few months. I don't think we're going to see that kind of inflationary pressure in the U.S. dollar, but we'll see enough where you might be able to negotiate something at a better price. So that's the function of the precious metals, maintaining purchasing power, and also give you an advantage for availability of goods and services. Now, not everyone is awake and aware enough to know that, but with the internet, it doesn't take very long. Someone that knows basically nothing about the history of money could learn probably in just a few minutes, the true nature of what happens when paper money is destroyed. In fact, I'll digress a moment more. Very good, I would say very good friend, although friend, this is a guy named Richard Doty. He was known as the Magambo Guru. It's a long story and funny one how he got that name, but he just passed away recently. So in my blog, go to themorganreport.com, go to the blog tab and look at the most recent one. It's a tribute to Richard Doty and the Magambo. But at the end of that, I don't know, it's a 15-minute video. I have a clip of him talking about the dollar. And I think it's about 2 minutes. And it's probably the best 2 minutes you could ever watch for a review for people that know what's going on, and a really good primer for anyone that's like, well, I don't understand it, because he explains how great modern money is for two of the three functions. But the one that money has, that currency doesn't, is a store of value. Yeah. And he just destroys that with the truth. So I know I'm tooting my own horn and, selling my own book and all that.
You knock yourself out. And
and it's worth it. I'll tell you, if this is my take. You can make up your own decision, not you crypto rich, but anyone following this video. You watch that and you tell me that is probably the best 2 minutes on describing exactly how poor the dollar really is. I don't know what else is. It's something that I knew we had in our files, and my webmaster dug it out for me, and I watched it this morning. And man, that is power.
I will link to that blog post in the description below. People can go check it out for themselves, right? But no, you go ahead and toot your horn, because, like I said when we first met, I learned a lot from you, from listening to your interviews and your podcasts and reading your blog posts and everything. I learned a lot. The difference between currency and money, debt. What we don't have, pounds and dollars. It's not money. It's debt. That's all it is. We're just exchanging debt and increasing debt. Whereas gold and silver and Bitcoin as sound money isn't debt based. It's a true, authentic exchange of energy, of communication that can't be defrauded. It's not a lie like the pound and the dollar is, and others. So you go ahead and do that, right? Now, something I keep hearing is that when there's no silver available, it'll crash the financial markets. I don't think you've ever said that.
No, I'll jump in. Now, I made a video called, this is basically it. I did it. I don't remember the exact title, but silver is the Achilles heel of the entire financial system.
Why?
Something like that.
Why
I made that 9 years ago.
But why?
And in that,
it's not. Sorry, David, because I can get it as a commodity because it's the most used commodity after oil, but it's not really nowadays used as money, as a store of value the way gold is.
Right.
So why silver?
Because the reason it's the Achilles heel is that the market at the margin buy it as an investment and think of it as money. First of all, the Romance languages like French and Spanish, the word for silver and money is the same word. So there's a part of the population that looks at silver as money, and they really can't get away from that. But the reason is, let's go to oil and say you couldn't get oil. Well, that would stop the entire economy. Everyone knows we run the whole economy on energy, and without energy, nothing happens. So you take oil out of the equation, basically nothing happens. Yeah, people with solar could drive their Tesla for a while or whatever, but basically you take away the oil market, you've done the entire world as a thought experiment class. Now, let's look at silver. If you took silver away, what would happen? Well, as you said, and it's true, it's the second most vital commodity in the world next to oil. So what would happen is you couldn't get any more silver. This is a thought experiment. This is going to happen. But you would shut down any new electronic product or anyone that had to be removed and replaced. I mean, solar panels are only good for about 15 years, and there are people that have them in that time frame that need to replace them. there's no silver, you couldn't do it. It's essential. It's critical. There's nothing that can replace it. There is no substitute. So silver is that vital to a high technological society that without it, you would not be able to function. So that's the point. So even though it's not money, it doesn't have to function as money to be critical to the infrastructure of, again, a high-tech society. I mean, silver not working in an Amish community, yeah, no big deal. But how many are that agrarian? Very few. So in order to communicate through the computer screens, any membrane switch, any television, any electrical switch, any stored battery thing that's for small applications like hearing aids or pacemakers or that kind of thing that uses a silver oxide battery instead of another type. And on it goes. I mean, I could talk about it for an hour if I had a list in front of me of applications. So you get it. It's something that's like air. We take it for granted, you know. We all breathe in and out and don't ever really think about it. Silver isn't like that important, but as a metaphor,
I can get it. I can get it. And if I continue with this thought experiment that if it were to happen, there's no physical silver available, then, I mean, they would be available, but the price would go through the roof, which would disrupt all the financial mechanisms. And I'm not financially trained, so forgive me here, David, right? But the way that money moves through industry, because costs would go through the roof completely. It would disrupt everything, and it would knock out ratios: gold and silver, silver and oil, silver and fiat. Okay, I get it now. So that would be incredibly disruptive.
Yeah, and one more thing, and that's the fact of the amount of leverage in silver is greater than any other commodity by a factor of like 7. And there's a reason for that. The reason there's so much paper silver versus real silver is you have to have that much of an overhang that will keep the price at a certain level. And so it could cause a systemic risk in the banking system because somebody on the wrong side of that trade wouldn't be able to perform. So that would cause that bank, let's say, to have to go into the market, correct their mistake, and buy silver back at a higher price or whatever. And that will kind of have a cascading effect. Whenever you get everybody on one side of the boat, as an analogy, the boat's going to flip over. And the banks have been net short on the silver market for so long. It's like just, you know, the normal circumstance, but it's abnormal, especially to the amount that they've done. So you hit it pretty hard, Crypto Rich. You described it pretty well. It's going to affect something you wouldn't even think of, but somebody might be holding a swap position in their pension fund and not even know that it's related to silver. But just a bigger banker talked them into it. It's good yield and blah, 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 blah. And it's in their portfolio and they didn't realize it. And all of a sudden, you know, silver starts rocketing forward and no one can really stop it because the only way to stop a market that's a runaway market is to let it come into balance. And the further things have been out of balance, the more it will, when it does balance, the bigger the change would be, the net change or the delta. And I mean, I could even go on and digress into what delta hedging is. I won't go there. But look, the silver market, more than any other market to my knowledge, has not been a free and fair market. And there's a price to pay for that eventually. And yes, I'm talking about a book, but I've also studied it very hard. I try to be extremely genuine about it. And the idea that silver isn't money has been given to us from 1873 onward. But most people know better.
Yeah.
And when and I want to go back to that video that silver is the Achilles heel of the entire financial system. I talk about silver in a very effective way, I would say, for about I forget how long the video is, but halfway through the video. And then I say, and I want to get this out because it's really on point of our whole discussion today, Crypto Rich, and that is this. I say at some time it really won't matter how much gold or silver you have if you aren't free to buy what you want, go where you want, see you want to see, and do what you want to do with your money.
Yeah.
Because if we've lost our freedom, we've lost everything. Absolutely. And I said that 9 years ago, and I meant it. And, you know, am I a visionary or not, make up your own mind. I don't care what you think of me, but I do want to be taken seriously that I am here for you, meaning, you know, we the people, the real
Absolutely.
power.
Absolutely.
And it comes from, you know, the top down, unfortunately, instead of the bottom up. When you have an honest monetary system, it really comes to the bottom up. And that's the whole point about honest money is honest money for honest people. And if all the silver in the world was distributed amongst the people instead of the bullion banks and their derivative situations, we would have the power, not them.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to integrity, because with silver, gold, and money, when you have honest money, silver, gold, and Bitcoin, when you have honest money, you have honest transactions between people. You have an honest, authentic, genuine, not fraudulent interchange between human beings. And then that's the foundation upon which everything else gets built. But with fiat currency, debt currency, it's just a lie. It's just a lie. That
you're living a lie. That's correct.
That's it. And then everything gets built on that, and then eventually it collapses. And I agree with you. We are in the midst of a collapse of the empire the US empire that's been fueled by the petrodollar as the reserve currency. Not that the euro is in such great shape either, right? They're all going to sink because they're all based on this lie. Now, here is the million silver dollar question. When crash?
Yeah. Well, I'll take my public flogging. I mean, I've been wrong on timing. The first one, which I corrected pretty early, was, how long can it go on? And, at that time, going back a couple of decades, I didn't think it had a lot longer. And then it dawned on me, wait a minute, to keep a Ponzi scheme going, you need a lot more players. And we had a lot more players. It was called China. So with China, we saw a huge increase in not only the demand for everything, from concrete to wheat, we also saw a huge expansion in the money supply. And we also saw a huge expansion in the commodity sector. I mean, silver went from, at that time was about 500 million ounces being mined on an annual basis with some recycling, to double that basically. And that was over about a 20-year period. But nonetheless, to double the production of something as essential as, that'd be like, I could use the oil analogy. It's really not true, but you get the general idea.
Yeah.
It'd be impossible to double the oil production because there's just not enough readily available, easy to find oil. And there wasn't that much easy to find silver either. A lot of that silver that got above the surface and into the system wasn't because it was worth digging it out. It was only there because it was worth digging out the lead or zinc or copper that went with it. And the silver came along because, as we all know, or most know, 70% of the silver market is a result of copper, lead, zinc mining, some gold mining. More than 10% of gold mining or silver comes as a result of gold mining. So my point is that's ending. The game of the Ponzi game is ending because the Chinese are fully on board, and now they have done the Keynesian model and tried to print themselves wealthy, and it works. It works for a while, and it's worked really good for them for a while. And now, as you said, you can only go so far, and they've gone too far. They got these ghost cities, they've got really bad pollution, they've got internal discontent, although you don't hear about it much. You've got food shortages. I mean, what was it, a couple of years ago or a year or so, where this, clean your plate mechanism was put in place, where if you're in a restaurant in China, you have 5 people can only order 4 dinners. And I mean, it goes on and on. So the end of the age of empire, it's here and it's ending. It's just that people want to know when. And so the question I've taken a long time to answer is, I do not believe with all my heart that we've got more than 2 years left. I really think it's happening now, and I think it will be more evident to everybody, almost on a weekly basis. There will be areas that will be less affected than others, but any high population density anywhere in the world, whether it's the US or Canada or South America or Asia, is an area to be more awake. As things deteriorate, crime goes up. People do what they have to do to survive. And we are getting in the survival mode more rapidly maybe than most people can comprehend at this time, because when they go down to their local pub or their local grocer or sporting event, it seems as if it's like it used to be. But that's a very thin veneer of civilized society that can break very quickly when this whole monetary scam gets to that one point where everyone can see it. And we're approaching that pretty quickly.
Yes. And a lot of the stuff that's happening in the world is very typical when empires collapse, when monetary systems collapse. And I do want to leave people with a little bit of cheer, which is that, what we can do, you got to do your own due diligence, and this is not investment advice, is you can preserve the value by hedging in gold, silver, Bitcoin, other cryptos, and doing whatever you need to do wherever you are to take care of yourself. And one of those things that I recommend is do check out David's channel, check out the Morgan Report, go ahead and subscribe, and just thank you very much, David. Thank you, and thank you again. Anything you want to say before we finish up?
Yeah, I think it's important to know that money is important, especially in our society, but it isn't the solution for everything. So in other words, you could have a pretty good net worth in physical metal, but if I wanted to buy a certain item that doesn't exist anymore, the money counterpart doesn't matter. If it doesn't exist, I can't buy it. So there will be things that we take for granted now, maybe a certain brand of food or certain manufacturer or something that will not be available in the future. The best thing we can do is work through our daily lives in a heartfelt manner, talk truth to everyone, and be willing to talk truth to power, and keep the friendships up, keep open, don't close down, don't go into the shell, don't put a lot of energy into what could happen. Just look at how bad it is or how good it is for you personally. And people really do help others in times of distress. Most people, unless they have had that issue among them, and I know what you do for a living, I won't voice it now, but it's amazing that most people I would say it's a fact from my experience that most people are good. And even in tough times, most people remain good. Not all, but most. So we have an opportunity to really get to a different level of what I'll call consciousness, an overused word, where if we really integrate what the human experience is about, which isn't about how much I can get, but how much I can give, we will have that opportunity again and again and again. And for someone like me that has a pretty good savings in silver, I might have the opportunity to turn that into, let's say, food for the neighborhood, or maybe the community, or whatever. So, there's two sides to every coin. And I think the big lesson that's coming for all of us, this is my take, you asked me the closing words, is the opportunity to see what's really valuable than what we've pretended or been taught is valuable. So a quick example is your friendships are priceless. And a new doodad or new phone or new whatever, yeah, it may be a temporary satisfaction. It might be nice to show it off rather than the first one to have it. But that's temporary. Friendships, really being present for others, that is what's valuable. And it's an opportunity to see that. And money can help us in a lot of it. And some places it won't be able to.
Yeah.
But it's the human connection. That's
Absolutely. Absolutely, David. Thank you so much for that. And people do know I have mentioned that I work as a child protection social worker. And I just echo what you say in terms of relationships and that human connection. That is what is valuable. And it is essential to us as human beings. We are the most pro-social of all the mammals. And we have relationships with others and that's how we access all sorts of things. Down in my relationship with you, that I get to have you back on my channel and give us your pearls of wisdom with regards to silver and gold. And David, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'll have all the links in the description below. Go check out Morgan Report. Go check out the Load Project. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. This is Crypto Rich and Crypto David signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Money has to serve three basic functions. One is a unit of exchange. I want something from you, and I give you money for it. For example, you have some incriminating photos of me. If you send them over to my wife, I will give you money. It's all been a value. The other is unit of account. When you're trying to compare apples and oranges, it's nice to know that you can use a standard unit of account to compare the two together. Apples are $3 a bushel, and oranges are $4 a bushel. I don't know how much orange cost that. The third, but our modern money does actually perform both of those functions very well. I got the photos, you got your money. We have compared apples and oranges. The third one is a store of value. Modern money does not constitute a store of value. When you woke up this morning, when you summed it all up, in your net worth, if you're like me, somewhere about $25. But during the day, the dollar's gone down in value. Now you were at $24.96. Where did my 4 cents go? Well, I've been on the phone all morning long trying to find my 4 cents, and no one can tell me where my 4 cents went. That is the problem with money. In 1913, when the Federal Reserve System was founded, $1 was worth $1. A loaf of bread in 1913 cost almost exactly the same as it did in 1796. How is that possible? You cannot have any inflation for over 100 years. Well, I'll tell you how it's possible, because there's only a fixed amount of money. There's only so much gold and silver in this world, and it has to be apportioned out among all of the goods and services. In a real economy based on sound money, prices will go down. They will go gradually down, and you will have a rising standard of living, and that is the whole point of the damn thing. We want rising standards of living. I don't want to be 4 cents poor at the end of the day. We want a rising standard of living. In 1913, $1 was worth $1. What is $1 worth now compared to that 1913 $1? 2 cents! 2 freaking cents!